Hi everyone, I'm Stephen and welcome to Watch Out. I received this Seagull ST3600 movement from Aliexpress, just turned up the other day. This cost me about 46 Australian dollars, and this is kind of like a Chinese clone of an ETA Unitas 6497 movement. And this is a movement that is often used by people to learn the techniques of watchmaking on. So if you've been following my channel, you'll know that the point of my channel was to show my journey of learning watchmaking from the very beginning. And I've so far managed to do 3 movements that had various problems and to get those movements working properly. But to do so was incredibly frustrating. And if you saw the last movement that I worked on, I almost gave up because it was so frustrating. And I was watching a video on YouTube the other day from Chronoglide in the Netherlands. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the gentleman who runs that channel. And if I could, I probably couldn't say it properly anyway. But you'll know who I mean if you go to his channel. And he had a video where he was talking about the deficit today between knowledge and skill. And I thought, yeah, that's me. And that's a problem that anyone who wants to be serious about this hobby really needs to resolve. And the point that he was making, do check his video out, by the way, it's very interesting. The point that he was making is that back in the day, if you wanted to find information about horology, the only place that you could find it was in expensive, very specialized kind of books. Today, we are literally awash with information on watchmaking. So learning how to do something is fine. But knowing about watchmaking and being able to service a watch or overhaul a watch are two very, very different things. And this was the point that he was making, is that back in the day, anyone who wanted to be a watchmaker, the first thing they would do is very basic tasks over and over and over again until they could get it right repeatedly. And when you think about it, it's the same with anything. If you want to learn to play the piano, well, you can watch as many videos as you like of other people playing the piano. There's only one way to learn to play the piano, and that's to practice playing the piano. And watchmaking is very much the same. Yes, you need the knowledge, and I've learned a tremendous amount in the last 10 months or so that I've been doing this. But that won't ever make me a watchmaker. And yes, I think I've learned some skills, but I've clearly still got a long way to go. So that's why I decided to get this movement, because as I mentioned, this movement is typically used by people to learn the skills of watchmaking on. Unlike the other movements that I had, this is a brand new, known good movement. So by putting it on the time graphing machine, I have a base reference for what the state of this movement is. So this will give me a reference point for this movement. I have done absolutely nothing to it. This is straight out of the box. It's running a bit fast, but I don't care about that. We can see it's got really nice amplitude, 320 degrees. There's no beat error at all. And yeah, this one does run a little bit faster, 21,600. So that's all fine. But yeah, this is my reference point, so I know that if I do anything to this movement and performance degrades, it means that I have done something wrong. So this is the whole point of using a brand spanking new movement like this to learn on. And another reason why this movement is very good for learning how to do watchmaking on is that it's huge, literally. It's actually meant for a pocket watch. Now, if you compare this movement to the last movement that I worked on, was actually a variation of this movement here. Look at the difference in size. So here's me trying to learn watchmaking on something this size, a tiny ladies movement, when really what anyone with any sense would do is learn how to do it on this movement. And the very first movement that I actually successfully tore down was this one here, which is an ST96 movement from FHF or ST. You can see that even that movement is significantly smaller than the Seagull, but then when we compare that to the last one that I just did, then you can see the size difference is just really something else. So, oops, sitting on a wheel, there we go. So I think this video is going to be a little bit unlike the other videos that I've done so far on my channel, where I've tried to do sort of like self-contained overhaul of a movement. Clearly what I'm going to need to do now is to focus on developing my skills. And so I'm not going to tear this movement down and put it back together. Well, I will at some point. But what I'm going to do now is just focus on developing those skills that I know that I need to move forward in this hobby. Because I've got some other movements sitting around that I want to work on, but I know that I don't have the skills for them just yet. So I really need to work on those skills. I'm so thankful for those of you who have been following along at home. I've received some really encouraging comments. I've received some people who have contacted me and encouraged me. And I know that some of you will be watching this video and making suggestions. So this is going to be a little bit more like a vlog kind of video. I know that it'll probably hit my view account fairly badly, but my hope is in this, what may well be a series of vlog kind of videos in terms of developing skills for watchmaking, that I will be able to produce better videos in the future with me working on some more interesting and complicated movements, which I'm not in a position to do so at the moment. And I know that you guys will be able to hopefully make some comments about things that I'm perhaps not doing quite right in terms of my skill development just at the moment. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. And so the first thing that I want to practice on is just simply removing and installing the balance, which is the most delicate part of the watch and is something that I have had a fair bit of frustration with in terms of possible damage to balances that I've done in the past. But I think I've also been a little bit hard on myself too, in that I am not sure that I did actually damage them when I thought that I did, but we just need to practice. So we now have a known good balance. So I'm just going to practice taking this in and out. like so. That's once. That's twice. That's 3 times. So I'm just going to describe the technique for how I'm doing this. So there's the pallet fork there, and there's in the bottom of the balance there is the impulse jewel, and it sits in between those horns. So I've made sure that the pallet fork is towards the top, if that makes sense. So in the position that it is now, because I'm sliding the wheel into position, just kind of like jiggling until it sits, until it engages with the pivot hole. And now actually hasn't engaged with the pivot hole. Try again. That's better. Now it's engaged with the pivot hole. And as I turn it like this, you imagine that the impulse jewel is rotating as well. So as it does that, it will engage with the horns of the pallet fork. So when it's in position, it just starts. And I'm just needing to give this a little bit of a push just to get those locating lugs to sit down properly. I hope you've been counting along, guys. Oh, something's wrong. I don't think it's engaged the jewel for some reason, so I'm just going to take it out and try again. I think it bounced out of the hole that time. So I'll try again. Yeah, it did. Now bounced out again. I think a lot of this too is actually getting a sense, getting a feel for when things are right and when they're not right, which again just only comes from experience. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but when it works well, so firstly engage with the pivot hole. It's going to make her a liar out of me now. So you'll see that there's that circle around the outside, and I'm looking for that circle to be, I'm looking for this, the balance to be equidistant from that circle, because if it isn't, it won't engage with the pivot hole. Then when it has engaged with the pivot hole, I can see the wheel drop down. When it does, I then turn it, and you'll see as I turn, there'll be a point where the wheel will make a surge forward. There it is. That point where it made the surge forward was it engaging with the horns. So the few times, there's been a couple of times where it's sort of like engaged and it's surged forward, but just for whatever reason the angle of been holding it, it's, the jewel has like bounced out of its cradle in the pallet fork, and so when that happens, then I don't get a proper seating obviously, and I need to try again. Okay, I'm just going to try a different way of holding this now, because I know some people hold it like this. And no, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. Because it just wanted to swing. It wanted to swing. Let's try. Okay, now I've got it. I'm not sure I really like this at all because I can't really see now because the tweezers are in the way. Well, I can see, but not as well. Well, I got it, but that felt really awkward. Someone's having a party down the street. You can probably hear those shrieking kids, which kind of makes it a bit hard to concentrate. So I just want to sort of practice picking up the balance a little bit now. Pick it up, put it down. Some people would probably kind of do this as well, like that. But that's why I get a little bit afraid of it. Sometimes it just kind of wants to, you know, grab and twist, if that makes any sense. I think people sometimes get a little bit worried about, you know, sitting on the bottom pivot, but as long as you don't push down, I think it should be fine. But some people, they like to turn it over like that and then sit it down like that, just for safekeeping. And get a really good view of that impulse tool on the bottom. Yeah, that's what I don't like at all when that happens. Kind of gets all twisted up. With picking it up here, I've got a nice firm surface that isn't going to go anywhere. Alright, well anyway, I think that's probably just about enough for one day anyway. The noise from that party down the street is starting to get to me. But oops. Did that work? There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, well I think that's enough for today. But yeah, that's some practice on handling the balance. I will keep doing this until I feel more confident, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and don't forget to watch out.